The Tempest by William Shakespeare. Part 1. This is a tale of wizards, magic, murder, and monsters. It takes place long ago on an island with no name in the middle of a great sea. If you were brave or foolish enough to sail close to the island, you would think that nobody lived there. You would be wrong, for in the heart of the jungle, at the top of a mountain is a cave, and in the cave an old man called Prospero and his beautiful young daughter Miranda have lived happily for 12 years. They weren't born here. Oh no. 12 years ago, to the day, they were sent to sea deliberately in an old boat full of holes and with no sails. They were meant to die. Miranda was only 3. Prospero cried as he held her in his arms. Who would want to murder an old man and his little girl? Who could be so evil? Well, as it happens, the very people responsible are on the ship sailing past the island with no name right now. They've been to a wedding in Africa, and they are going home to Italy to think. It is night. In the cave, Miranda is asleep, but Prospero stands outside, staring at that ship. He wears a cloak with shimmers and sparks with light. In one hand, he holds a great leather-bound book. In the other, he grips a wooden staff. With a deep breath, he raises the staff, as if to draw upon the sky itself. Instantly, a jagged bolt of lightning courses through the air and cracks into the ocean. He sweeps the staff around his head, and boiling storm clouds explode from nowhere and blacken the stars. He whistles, and a living thing, a spinning, mischievous sprite, cartwheels through the air and hovers in front of him. Ariel, are you ready? Asked Prospero. Master, the ship is trapped in the web. There is no escape, answers Ariel. Time for me to teach them a lesson. Time for you to do your stuff, says Prospero. Yes, at last! Sprites to the rigging! Come on, Sprites! Just what lesson are you teaching them, Master? Asked Ariel. Never, ever mess with wizards, answers Prospero. The lightning and the thunder rage all through the night. Eventually, the terrible din wakes Miranda. She is not pleased with her father, especially when she spies the passengers far below leaping into the heaving sea, scared out of their wits. Prospero clicks his fingers. The storm stops. He sighs. Time I told you just what's going on, he says to her, and being the kind of wizard that likes details, this takes him the rest of the night. It turns out that Prospero's not just a wizard, he's also a duke, the Duke of Milan. At least, he was until his brother Antonio took over. Antonio borrows the neighboring king's army, storms the Duke's palace, and orders Prospero and his daughter to be thrown in a boat and lost at sea. It was goodbye, Duke Prospero. Hello, Duke Antonio. Miranda is pretty surprised at that story. She thought they'd always lived in a cave. But hang on, she says. How come if you're really a duke, you're also a wizard? Aha, says Prospero. My old friend Gonzalo threw my science books into the boat as we were leaving. 12 years of reading them from cover to cover, and I now know pretty much everything about everything, including being a top magician.
Since when did top magicians start sinking ships for fun?
Accuses Miranda. Prospero explains that down there in the boat are all his enemies from Milan and Naples, including his brother Antonio.
What are you going to do with them?
Miranda asks. Prospero tells her he hasn't decided yet, but whatever it is, they deserve it. With that, he conjures a spell and puts her back to sleep, just as Ariel flies in with a very important message.
Master, the ship is hidden in the harbor. The crew are all fast asleep in the hold,
says Ariel. And the passengers? Prospero asks.
Split up round the island, just as you ordered,
Ariel replies. Excellent, says Prospero.
I'll be off then. It's been nice working for you,
says Ariel. Not quite yet, Ariel, says Prospero.
But boss, you said this would be my last job,
says Ariel. This job is not over yet. Dawn's coming up. I want you to get down on the beach and start the island music going, replies Prospero.
Okay, and then you'll let me go?
Asks Ariel. Soon, Ariel, answers Prospero.
Promise?
Asks Ariel. I promise, Prospero replies.
Cross your heart,
says Ariel. Don't push your luck, Ariel, unless you want to wake up back in that tree trunk where I first found you, says Prospero.
Any particular tune you wanted? Or shall I choose, Master? I am going. I am leaving. I am out of here,
Ariel asked. In the morning sun, the island with no name is a beautiful, sweet-smelling, music-filled place. But the miserable survivors don't notice that as they crawl onto the beach. Ariel has done his job well, landing them all very deliberately on different parts of the island. Prospero slips on his invisibility cloak, yes, really, and joins Ariel in the morning inspection of his catch. First up, the courtiers. They've only been on dry land 5 minutes and already they're bickering about who's in charge. Top of the heap, King Alonso of Naples. He's the villain who lent his army to Antonio so he could steal Prospero's kingdom. Does he regret it? Not a bit. So why is he looking miserable? Because his only son Ferdinand, a bit of a wimp, it has to be said, seems to be dead, drowned in the shipwreck. Just behind King Alonso is his brother, Sebastian. Now, he's miserable because he always wanted to be king of Naples. Next to Sebastian is his mate, Antonio. And we all know about Antonio, don't we? Prospero's brother, the one who stole his dukedom. A cooler, nastier, more ruthless man in tights could not be imagined. Just behind him, there's old white-haired Gonzalo. He's nice enough. Remember, he gave Prospero his books all those years ago. But really, he does love the sound of his own voice. Prospero inspects them carefully, coldly.
Who else did we catch? Take a look,
says Ariel, and off they go to another beach. There on the sand, snoring, is an ugly young man in jester's outfit.
That's Twinkle,
says Ariel.
And what's that?
asks Prospero, pointing to another snoring figure, wrapped around a beer barrel which goes floating past on the tide.
That's his mate, Stefano,
says Ariel.
Never heard of them,
says Prospero.
They'll have to look after themselves. Where's Ferdinand?
This way, says Ariel, and they whisk themselves to the far side of the isle. There, sitting under a tree, snuffling, is the young Prince of Naples, Ferdinand.
I really can't stand snuffling. What's wrong with him?
Prospero asked.
He thinks his father's dead. 45 fathoms under the sea,
replies Ariel.
I didn't notice much snuffling when they sent me off in a boat all those years ago,
says Prospero.
I don't think you can blame Ferdinand. He was only 3 at the time,
Ariel says.
I'll blame who I like. Now you get down there and put him through the ringer a bit,
says Prospero.
The ringer?
Ariel asks.
That's right. I want to see him really cry,
says Prospero.
I thought you were a good wizard,
says Ariel.
Wizard is as wizard does. Now, do your stuff, then take him up to the cave. I have a little plan to work on,
says Prospero. This is the end of part 1. To be continued in part 2. See you then.